Welcome back to part 2 of the big 3 questions being asked by our clients, and as stated before, some of the most important updates you need to hear now. I'm Shannon Ellison with the Walker team, and today we cover another looming curiosity: what is happening to home prices? Let's start off with what's your story about home prices. You're probably being inundated with headlines and comments like market crash looming, worst since 2008, massive price reductions, and builders pull back. Hearing that from so many avenues is going to strike fear in most situations, especially when there's limited information. My duty is to bring you the realities based on data and insights. So let's start with an important quote by David Ramsey. The root issue of what drives house prices is always supply and demand. Of course, nationwide, that ratio is changing very quickly, and our local area tends to be quite different than the national averages. Here's a peek of what we're seeing now. The current amount of inventory for homes for sale in Santa Clara County is 1,152 with 674 homes pending, a 60% absorption rate. In 2008, the inventory was 4,956 homes, 430% more than now, and 1,949 homes pending, just 39% absorption rate. Check out my video on that for a thorough explanation of what it means. The pandemic changed the market dramatically based on people's needs, office, yard, etc., and also pushed the pause button for months, essentially backing up demand in an unhealthy manner. Now we've hit an inflection point in the housing market, and believe it or not, this sudden change is actually normal in Silicon Valley housing cycles. Let's cover what the national experts are saying. One of the icons in the industry of real estate projection is Ivy Zelman, and she has one of the most bearish projections over the next couple of years, calling for national drops of 4% in 2023 and another 5% in 2024. Note that although bearish compared to most, she's not calling for a market crash. The chief economist for First American, Mark Fleming, also chimes in. Notice that he also calls for caution if you're waiting for a market crash instead of calling for expected moderation. The reality is that housing was overvalued and overinflated in the second quarter due to the low interest rates and the available stock market money. Ask any of those buyers that paid 10 to 15% more than the values now if they regret getting a 30-year fixed 3% interest rate and using their stock market money value from 6 months ago. Interestingly enough, 2022 will go down as a year of positive appreciation, although slight, 1 to 3% in the history books. We're hearing talk of some depreciation, anemic appreciation, and varying overall opinions. But the general consensus can be summed up by John Paulson, who was one of the economists that called the 2008 housing crash. We're not at risk of a collapse today in the financial system like we were before. It's true, housing might be a little frothy, so housing prices may come down or they may plateau, but not to the extent it happened back then. Of course, he was referring to the 2008 crash. Essentially, some of the markets will decline and some will moderate, historically always being one of the strongest markets in the nation here in Silicon Valley. What do you think will happen locally? Here's a collection from some of the top experts for the expectations for 2023. By the way, if you're the media, who gets the most press, especially if it's someone with Zelman's reputation? If you haven't figured out the media by now, doom sells. We're not quite there. Now, looking at those numbers, the best case is probably 3 to 4% appreciation locally. This will really depend on the spring supply and demand scenario. And currently inventory is a lot lower than you would expect with the slowdown. And why is that? It's simple, really. Current homeowners have record equity in their homes, probably financed at a historical rate, and they don't have to sell. Now check out the Metropolitan Service Area's home price expectation survey. Almost 900 metropolitan areas projected, and the expectations all land in a fairly small range of variance. Once again, not every area is expected to depreciate, and we have already discussed the historical strength of our area here in Silicon Valley. Have you seen Apple, Facebook, or Google pack their bags and leave yet? Take a look at the 2024 to 2026 projections from expert analysts. Overwhelmingly, the majority are optimistic for the future. There's a couple of realities at play right now. Number one, we're underbuilt for our ever-growing population, and the builders are pulling back now, which will make it worse. And number two, the millennial demand is the largest generation we've had, moving into their peak years of buying. It's quite honestly a tremendous demand looming. So what's your take? Are you an eternal pessimist, a headline hunter, a constant optimist? Let me drop one more set of stats. If you watch my videos, you've consistently heard my take on how similar this market is to 2018 and 2019 market. This graph really shows similarities in inventory and pending sales. Even the month-to-month market fluctuations are eerily similar. Just a little expert insight, all of our clients that bought homes in 2018 and 19 are pretty stoked right now. So the bottom line, given my take, all of this data, current and historical, plus other expert opinions and projections, what are your thoughts now? Please share, I welcome all of them. And as always, I'm Shannon with the Walker team of Ontario, here to educate and navigate, not speculate and fabricate. Follow me on YouTube to see the upcoming final deep dive. How the changes in home equity are affecting people, or rewatch my first video, Will Mortgage Rates Keep Rising? See you soon.